Hello again, and what is hip? And this is a video I've wanted to make for a little while. As some of you may know, Sega recently released the Sonic Origins collection, which was a compilation of 5 Sonic the Hedgehog games: Sonic 1, 2, 3, Sonic & Knuckles, and Sonic CD. And they released it for a full $49.99, and I think they could have done a lot better. In fact, I think they needed to look back at their past, specifically these two wonderful games, and do some sort of combination of these two. I think that would have been a lot better. But we're going to be talking about Sonic Mega Collection and Sonic Gems Collection, the original Sonic Origins collections. I know that's a lot of Sonics. I probably could have worded that better, but yes, as I think it did for a lot of people my age back then. We're going to be talking about this game first. This game really introduced me, and I'm sure so many other people my age, to Sonic the Hedgehog, and it really kindled my love for Sonic and Sega in general. And this includes 7 Sonic the Hedgehog games: 1, 2, 3, Sonic & Knuckles, Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic Spinball, and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, as well as a couple of other Genesis unlockables. And this was just fantastic. I mean, that's 7 Sonic the Hedgehog games. Some would argue some of them aren't very good, but I actually happen to really love Sonic 3D Blast, Spinball, and Mean Bean Machine. I remember coming home after school and turning on Sonic Spinball and then getting too freaked out when I fall and that little monster guy jumps up from the bottom and that really loud, terrifying music plays. I hated that. But Sonic 3D Blast as well, I also really loved that game. It wasn't a great game, but there's just something about it that kept pulling me back. And then Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, it's basically a Puyo Puyo clone, introduced me to Puyo Puyo. So this Sonic Mega Collection really introduced me to so many games, and it was such a strong collection. Originally it was released on the Gamecube, but later it was released on the PlayStation 2 and Xbox, and the Sonic Gems here was only on the Gamecube, never came out on anything else. But back to Mega Collection, in addition to these games, there was also an incredible museum. And Sonic Origins Collection does have a museum, and some of it's pretty cool, but it's not very extensive, and a lot of it is stuck behind certain achievements that you have to do. And then I think you can even pay to unlock some of it. Like, it was just not good. It's all on the disc here, and it's all unlocked from the start, and the museum is so much more extensive. This has hundreds of Sonic the Hedgehog comics on the disc, so much concept art and old trailers, and it's amazing. I remember I would pull up my little foldable table up to my CRT TV, and I would go into the museum and look at the character art. And I had my little notepad, and I would draw Sonic and other characters. And I actually have a photo here of one of the ones I did many years back. I can't believe I actually have this. I was taken on my old, I think, DSi or something like that. But it was so well crafted, this collection. And I don't believe it was a full price game. I could be wrong. But there's just so much content, and there was so much love and care put into this. I mean, the fact that you're getting hundreds of comics too, from the early Sonic the Hedgehog days. I love the Sonic the Hedgehog comics. I was super into them back then. And these have all the original ones, and it was just so cool to see. And Sonic Gems Collection was a sequel to this, and although not anywhere near as extensive as the original Mega Collection, had some really just wonderful gems. This was where we got to play Sonic CD for the first time after it originally released on the Sega CD and the PC. Sonic R, and Sonic the Fighters, which was an old arcade game. And I could be wrong, but I think this is the only way you can play Sonic the Fighters on a console. Correct me if I'm wrong, as well as 6 Game Gear Sonic the Hedgehog games. And this was just a really wonderful little collection. Again, not as extensive as this, and some would say the games were not as good. I think that's actually probably unanimously agreed, with the exception of Sonic CD. But for the collector and the real Sonic the Hedgehog enthusiast, this was a real treat. And I remember back in the day, after I had played Mega Collection, I was a big Sonic fan. And I remember looking at this at a GameStop, this is my original copy, and saying, wow, these are 3 Sonic games I've never heard of before. Sonic CD, The Fighter, Sonic R, what is that? And it piqued my interest. And that's who this game was made for, that kind of person. And I think it succeeded. And I remember playing Sonic Drift 2 a lot. I loved that game. That's a game I want to get for the Game Gear to this day. And Sonic R I loved a lot as well. The music in that game is absolutely fantastic, as was all Sonic games back then. And Sonic the Fighters was a really competent fighter, 3D fighter. I didn't like Sonic CD as much. You know, I was not as hooked onto that game as many others were, but the music was absolutely fantastic. And this also had a museum, again, not as extensive as Mega Collection, but you know, on its own, I think that Sonic Origins maybe compares to something like Sonic Gems. Not quite the full experience as I think it could have been. I really wish Sonic Origins Collection was like Mega Collection, and maybe if they included Sonic CD on this as well, that would have been the perfect collection. Well, actually, not as perfect as just combining these 2 games into one. I really think they could have done so much more with Sonic Origins, and especially, or at the very least, release it at like $20. Not 50. I mean, that was insane. I mean, it had some things going for it. The menu selection was beautiful, and the intro movies they did was really, really wonderful. But it was just too much money, not enough content. But yeah, that's my video for today. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with me? Do you think Sonic Origins should have been more? Are you fine with what it was? Do you think maybe it should have just had a price cut and released as it was? Or do you think it should have been something similar to these 2 games? But if you guys have a GameCube and you don't own these 2 games, by all means pick these up, especially Sonic Gems. These games are a little harder to come by on other systems, I mean, these ones you can get on every platform available nowadays. But both are very, very affordable and just wonderful windows into Sonic the Hedgehog's past. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this today. Have a good one.